Ready to dive into the world of communications lecturers? We're breaking down insights from RoleCatcher career guides, interview tips, even some AI analysis. Should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's cool to see how much this field has changed, even in the last few years.
So no more picturing a professor in a tweed jacket with a pile of dusty
I mean,
books.
some of that might still be true, haha, but it's definitely not the whole picture anymore. These are communications pros who are actively engaged in the field.
So it's not just lecturing from a textbook.
No way. They're researchers, they're publishing their work, they're collaborating with others, they're using social media and other technology to stay current. And they're teaching students who've just finished the equivalent of high school. It's about shaping the way the next generation communicates.
Wow. Okay, so that actually sounds kind of high stakes when you put it like that.
It is. Communication is the foundation of pretty much everything we do. And speaking of communication, the guide actually points out that it's the top skill for this role.
Well, yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but it's like 70% according to this. Is that a lot? I don't even know. 70% seems like a lot.
It really highlights just how much communication goes on beyond just lecturing. It's faculty meetings, student conferences, presentations, online engagement, the list goes on. And it's not just about being able to talk, it's about engaging an audience, adapting your communication style to different situations, being persuasive.
Yeah, you'd really have to be a communication powerhouse to thrive in this role. It's not just standing up and talking about what you know.
Exactly. And it's interesting, the next most crucial skill this role catcher thing points out is reading comprehension.
Wait, really? I would thought that would be a given.
You'd think so, right? But it underscores how important it is for these lecturers to be constantly consuming information, staying up to date on the latest research and trends and debates in the field.
Oh, so you can't just rest on what you learned back in grad school, however many years ago.
Nope. The field is constantly evolving. Plus, you have to be able to synthesize all that information and make it digestible and engaging for your students.
Right. So it's not just about being a good communicator yourself, it's about teaching others to be good communicators too.
Exactly. And everyone learns differently, some for the first time, so you need a real depth of understanding to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing I found interesting in this guide is how it breaks down the typical day-to-day for a communications lecturer at different stages of their career.
Oh, yeah, that is interesting. So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of job.
Not at all. It really depends on your level of experience and seniority. Starting at the entry level, you're basically doing a lot of assisting, helping senior lecturers with things like grading, prepping for lectures, maybe even getting your feet wet with some research.
So it's like an apprenticeship almost.
Yeah, exactly. You're learning the ropes, figuring out how things work in academia before you really take the reins yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Then you move up to junior communications lecturer, and that's where you start taking on more responsibility.
What, like leading your own classes?
Exactly. You're developing your own course materials, delivering lectures, maybe even starting to conduct your own independent research.
And that's when you really get to put your own stamp on things,
Yeah,
right?
that-
Developing your own teaching style, that kind of thing.
Exactly. You're not just following someone else's lesson plan anymore. You're shaping the curriculum yourself. And your research starts to become more central to your work as well.
Oh, so you're contributing to the broader field of communication, not just teaching what's already known. Then what?
Then you move up to senior communications lecturer. And at that level, you're not just teaching and doing research. You're mentoring junior colleagues, serving on academic committees, maybe even taking on more of a leadership role within the department. You could be working on getting published even more or building partnerships.
Partnerships with like industry people.
Yeah, exactly. So you're really becoming a well-rounded academic at that point.
Wow. So it's like climbing the academic ladder, rung by rung.
Yeah, you could say that. And of course, the top rung is principal communications lecturer.
What does that entail? Being like the boss of everyone.
Pretty much. You're overseeing the entire communications department, making strategic decisions about the curriculum, managing budgets, things like that.
That's a lot of responsibility.
It is, and it's not easy to get there. Remember how the guide talked about how competitive it is for tenure-track jobs?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Not everyone who starts out as a junior lecturer is going to end up as the head honcho.
Nope. But here's something to consider. Becoming a principal lecturer isn't the only way to have a successful career in this field.
That's a good point. So what are some other paths that communications lecturers might take?
Well, they could move into corporate training and development,
Mm.
or instructional design for online courses,
Where?
or even consulting.
Oh, like communication consulting for businesses.
Exactly. There are tons of options.
I guess it makes sense they have such a unique skill set, not just the communication stuff, but also teaching, research, critical thinking.
Exactly. All of those skills are transferable to a lot of different industries.
So even if you don't end up as a tenured professor, you can still have a really impactful career with a background in communications.
Oh, and that reminds me of another interesting point in the guide. It talked about the growing demand for post-secondary education overall.
Right. And how that creates more opportunities for people in academia.
Yeah, but it's not just about the number of jobs, it's also about the skills themselves.
Because as more and more people get college degrees, the need for strong communicators just increases across all industries.
Exactly. Okay, so we've talked about the skills, the career path, the overall demand, but can we talk about the role catcher stuff for a minute?
Yeah.
Because that's where things got really interesting for me.
Yeah, they've got some pretty cool tools and resources.
Like that role catcher capture thing?
Oh, yeah, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Especially if you're applying for a lot of different jobs. What do? Keep track of them all in a spreadsheet.
I mean, that's what I usually do. It's kind of a mess. Well, with RoleCatcher Capture, you can just save any job posting from any website with a single click.
Wait, really? So you don't have to, like, copy and paste the link and all that?
Nope. It's all right there in one place, organized and easy to access.
That's amazing. I'm definitely checking that out. And that's not even the coolest part.
What? There's more.
Their AI analyzes job descriptions and tells you which version of your resume to use.
Oh, wow. So you're not just sending out the same generic resume to everyone.
Yeah, it's like having a personalized resume writer who knows exactly what each employer is looking for.
That's incredible. I can't believe I haven't heard of this before. Talk about a time saver.
It's kind of mind-blowing, right? Okay, but before we get too sidetracked by the amazingness of RoleCatcher, there's one more thing I wanted to circle back to. Remember how the guide mentioned how important it is for communications lecturers to stay on top of tech trends?
Yeah, but it seems like a pretty tall order.
Hmm?
Technology changes so fast.
Exactly. So how are these lecturers supposed to keep up, let alone integrate those trends into their teaching? It's like, how do you even prepare students for a future where the communication landscape is constantly shifting?
Right, it's a real challenge. But it's also an exciting one. I mean, think about all the new possibilities that technology brings to the table. These lecturers are at the forefront of exploring those possibilities.
So instead of just teaching students how to use today's tools, they're also trying to anticipate what tomorrow's tools will be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And how to adapt to those new tools, how to use them ethically and effectively. Like, how do you teach someone to communicate in a world where virtual reality is commonplace or where artificial intelligence is creating content? These are questions that communications lecturers are grappling with right now.
Yeah.
And those AI things are everywhere now, so they have their work cut out for them.
Wow. So it's not just about being tech savvy themselves, it's about understanding the broader implications of these technologies and how they're reshaping communication as we know it.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the bigger picture, the why behind all of this. We've explored what these lecturers do, the skills they need, but what about their impact? Like, what's the point of all this? What are they actually trying to achieve?
Right, because it's not just about teaching people to be good at talking or writing or whatever. There's got to be something more to it than that.
Exactly. It's about empowering people to use communication as a tool for positive change. I mean, think about it. Their students are going on to work in all sorts of fields where communication is key. Journalism, marketing, politics, even just navigating our increasingly digital lives. Yeah. Communications is how we make sense of the world around us.
So they're not just shaping individual communicators, they're shaping the way we communicate as a society.
Precisely. And in a world where we're constantly bombarded with information, having skilled communicators who can cut through the noise and engage in thoughtful dialogue is more vital than ever. These lecturers are equipping the next generation with not just technical skills, but also ethical awareness and a sense of responsibility.
Because communication without understanding is just noise, right?
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of communications lectures, I have one final thought for you to consider. We've covered the what and the why, but what about the who?
Okay, I like where you're going with this. You're about to drop some wisdom on us.
Maybe. But seriously, could you be a part of this impactful profession? What unique experiences, passions, and perspectives could you bring to the table as you help shape the next generation of communicators? It's definitely not an easy job. It takes a lot of dedication and hard work, but it's also incredibly rewarding. And knowing that you're making a real difference in the world, that's got to be a pretty amazing feeling.
It definitely sounds like a career path worth considering. If you're fascinated by communication and its power to shape the world, this might be the perfect fit for you. Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. It's been fascinating exploring the world of communications lectures with you. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating exploration.